going to be frozen like that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coach's Playbook this week. It's what, the 15th, 16th? 16th.
16th.
A Tuesday when we're recording, dropping on a Wednesday. Per usual, I'm joined by Dan Hodgman, John Hoagland, a.k.a. Hoag, and Mika Ranamo. I don't usually say all the names, but why not from time to time? Today we got a good topic, which is when do you know you've become a good trader? And as Hoag was explaining earlier, it's not a single event. We'll get to that, but first, Mick, you have a trader shout out for us?
I do. Big shout out to funded trader Daniel Faria. Puts up about $3,600 in the NASDAQ this morning. I should say put up $3,600 in the NASDAQ. So that's a heck of a good day.
Not a bad really Tuesday in my books.
A real good day.
Yeah, I'll take that. So Daniel seems like he's on his way to becoming a good trader. And when you know you become that, it isn't always because you had a big day or something like that. It's, there's no school you graduate from and get your diploma and your family comes and takes pictures and blows air horns. There's no defining point at which you've become a good trader. But we thought we'd go through some of the attributes that once you've achieved, you are, by definition, a good trader. And one last thing before we start, I couldn't charge up my lights, so my dark room might be a little bit darker than usual. I also have my wife is teaching an improv class online out there. So if you hear people screaming in the background, it's not any weird things going on in my place.
Well, we're used to your background noise by now, Jack.
Right.
Perfect. All right.
L tracks, you name it.
Yeah.
I want to be in her class.
Well, I'll get you the link at some point. My wife's a teacher at Second City in Chicago. So since this is a topic that Hoag brought up, maybe we'll kick it over to Hoag first so you can kind of explain what the original question was about this.
Sure, absolutely. And you kind of touched on it already, Jack. I talk to a lot of traders day in and day out. It's something that I really enjoy and that I'm very passionate about. And quite often, one of the main questions they ask me is, how do I know that I've become a good trader? And there's probably a million answers to that. But the answer that comes to me the most is, well, it's not going to be like one day you're all of a sudden going to realize, hey, I'm a good trader. It's not like you're going to be able to celebrate that day every day moving forward. Like Jack says, it's not a graduation, and it's not going to be an anniversary that you're going to celebrate. Because to be a consistent and profitable and successful trader, you have to do it every day. It's something that you're going to have to continue to learn. You're going to have to continue to grow. You're going to have to learn more about markets. You're going to have to learn more about yourself over time, because even the CFTC disclaimer says, past performance is not indicative of future results. So to me, the first step of really becoming a good trader is really becoming consistent with the lens you use to look at the markets, and then a consistency in the homework, in your ability to put forth a few different hypotheses for the coming trading day, the ability to recognize which hypothesis is coming true, and then being able to trade to that hypothesis. If you want to be a consistent and profitable trader, you must bring consistency to the market, and that all of that is consistent lens, consistent homework, and consistent application of the current strategy that suits the market state. So you can be successful for one day. You can have a wonderful trading day. You can have a great week. You can have a great month. You can even have a great year. But it doesn't mean anything moving forward as to your continued success. Keep doing the homework. Step one is consistency in lens and homework for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, John. I really like the consistency portion of that. I agree with you 100% there. When it comes to what makes a good trader or when are you a good trader, this is something that can be measured differently by different people. I think a lot of people that are newer in the industry might measure their how good they are by what kind of money that they can make. If they've built up their account balance quickly, or if they can have large or big winning days. I think that's one measure. I don't like that measure though. I like consistent profitability. anybody out there could throw on a big position. It could go in their favor. They could get lucky and, make $5,000 in a day. That same person who, took high risk to make that 5,000 could give that 5,000 back the next day and even more than that. So just because I can say, hey, I made $5,000 in a day, that doesn't mean I'm a good trader. Personally, I think someone who could average $100 4 days out of the week, consistent profitability, like you were saying, is a good trader. They might not have as much money to show from it, but they're certainly a better trader. The profits, it's a byproduct of good trades. And, if you're consistently making small bits of money, as a trader, you're a good trader if you're consistently making money. You're not a good trader if you make a ton of money and then give it all away. There's a certain aspect of money management here. I read a pretty interesting book about a guy who had made millions and lost millions of dollars. And in this book, he says, I wasn't a good trader. He said, I got lucky for a few years. In the end, I don't have anything to show from it. And that's how I feel too. I mean, whether it's making money on a day, a week, a month, or even a year, if you can get lucky. You can get lucky for a long period of time. There's certain market environments that are favorable. If you buy it every single day, you're going to be, up money come the end of the day. But if you can't hang on to that money, are you a good trader, or did you get lucky for a little while?
I would have to agree with both of you guys here. I think consistency is super important, but like Mick says, it's consistent profitability. Our job is to continuously make money. And we have to also, on the flip side of that, kind of know when we're not doing well. And I think one of the biggest traits that you have to have as a successful trader is maintaining some sort of humility. We all have some sort of ego at some point in our lives. I say it all the time. I've had it myself. I still do in some cases. But it's a matter of maintaining that humility and recognizing, okay, what I'm doing right now is just not working. Someone once told me a long time ago, and it kind of has defined a lot for me, is don't ever let one trade or one day make or break you as a trader. You can't hang your hat on just because you had one really good day. You cannot hang your hat on that. And don't let one day ever deter you from finding that long-term success in this. And our job is to be profitable and not right. And that's something I say a lot. The focus is to be profitable. And I know a lot of traders come into this each and every day. I see it in a lot of different places where they're saying, all right, watch the market run to this level. Okay, great. If it does, outstanding. But if it doesn't start to go to those prices that you're looking for, you have to adjust. Instead of saying, look, it's going to get there, it's going to get there, I'm going to keep trading it until it gets there. You have to step back and say, okay, where is this market really going? What's it telling me today? And just because I have this idea that it's going to go up there, but it actually is going down here, how do I adjust and stay profitable within the market state that we're trading?
Yeah, Dan brings up a good point. The flip side of the same coin of consistency is adaptability. That was the attribute that I was going to say, probably off the top of my head, that's the strongest thing. You bring consistency in your process. But the key is you need to be adaptable to many, many different market conditions. I think we were talking about this topic yesterday, Ho. We were talking about, they say when you're in the trading industry that the easiest year you'll ever trade is your first year. That's all, everyone talks about the markets from 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And you can go through, I think that's another misconception that a year is not a long period of time. You could have a great year doing certain things. You could have a great 3 years doing certain things. You're probably not going to push that to a decade, and if you're talking about doing something for a career, you're looking at multiple decades. And the only people that are able to stay consistently profitable are those that can adapt to different market conditions and not just turn inward and double down, triple down on whatever their particular view of the markets is.
Absolutely. We had 10 years of strong market rally. When you look at equities, you could be successful buying opens and selling closes almost every single day for a long time. That's what they were showing us. Over the last 2 years, you've had to start to adapt, myself included, accepting short side trades, accepting that we're going to be working sideways, accepting that things are not the same as they were for 10 years. And if you don't adapt to that, I'm sure a lot of people didn't. And I'm sure a lot of people are now sitting on the sidelines saying, man, I wish I was able to adapt to these market conditions.
And what Dan said, one of the key words that Dan has said, I think, is humility. It takes humility to be able to accept information that the market is basically saying to you, and to be able to adapt to it. That the lens, the adaptability, the humility. Every time I have sat back and said, I've got this now, I am God's gift to trading. I don't have to worry about doing the homework anymore. I know that there is danger at the door. Yes, like Dan just did, I got slammed in the head. Humility is, of course, important. Consistency is important, because we really have to review our performance on a daily basis. If you're not being consistent in your strategies, if you are not being humble in your decision-making process and respecting the risk, you're not going to get any usable information to review your performance. Consistency is key. To me, one of the next steps to becoming a good trader is your ability to maintain an account for a very long period of time. As Mick said, I don't care if it's $10 a day, $100 a day, or $1,000 a day that is your average P&L in the positive side. The longer you can stay in that account, the longer you're going to be able to buy that time to get better at what you're doing.
Yeah, before we change the topic to what makes a good trader, or how do you know when you're a good trader, I thought we were going with what makes a good trader. I listed a couple traits, and the first one at the top of my list was discipline. You should be able to know that you're on a nice path if your rules take over what your bias is and what you want to happen in the market. You could have a great idea, and if it doesn't mesh with some rules or previous learning experiences, and you don't act on that, whether the market would have gone in that direction or not, I think you're on the path to being a good trader. Managing your money is more important than anything. Preserving your capital is huge. You can survive in this industry, not having winning weeks and winning months if you're just preserving your capital. That's the first and foremost. Many people come at this industry thinking offense and making money. And if that's really the only place your head is at, you're missing the bigger part of the business, because it's about defense and preserving capital in more cases than not. Because the majority of the time that you're watching the screens or participating, that might be what you're having to play defense or capital preservation. Another thing is, flexibility. I think it's extremely important to be flexible. We talked about sustainability. You can't sustain a trading account or place in this industry if you're not flexible. If you are, betting a large percentage of your account on any given trade or any given trading day, you're not setting yourself up for success. That it just doesn't work out like that. Another big thing is learning from your mistakes. When I started in the business, I made lots of mistakes. It cost me money. I eventually, with help and my own help and consciousness, is learn from those mistakes. You're going to make mistakes no matter what. If you can stop yourself from making the same mistake twice, you're going to be that much better off for the next session or the next trade. So really being honest with yourself and, recognizing where you went wrong and preventing yourself from doing it again. It's going to save you money.
Sure. I think that what you talked about, honesty and self-reflection, are kind of into the overarching thing of objectivity, of being able to objectively see what is happening and make the appropriate choice, as opposed to just hoping for what you want to happen. And I think that also ties into humility, as Dan was talking about. You need to be very self-reflective. It's almost a spiritual pursuit in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're into that or not. The best people are able to look at losses. They're able to accept losses when the process was appropriate to get there, and they don't beat up on themselves for doing that. They learn from it, they move on. Similar with big
Absolutely.
wins, they don't let that go to their head either.
Absolutely. Something I think that kind of ties in with this. In the Marine Corps, I've talked about some of my experiences there before, and one of the biggest things that the Marine Corps is known for is building leaders. And to be a successful Marine and be a successful leader, there's one of the leadership traits that we talk about almost each and every day while in the Marine Corps, and that's know yourself and seek self-improvement. Every one of you guys have kind of touched on this, looking back, understanding your history. What have you been doing well? What have you been doing poorly, and growing from that? And that's what this is all about, is you have to kind of know yourself as a trader. You may sit there in a trade group and the guy you're following is a great trader and is extremely successful. Just because that person's doing well within their strategy does not mean by any case that you can replicate what that person's doing and you're going to be successful. We have to understand ourselves. Every single person's going to have a different appetite for risk. We're going to have a different feeling when we're profitable in our trades. The person you may be following is taking 1 to 2 trades a day, bigger risk but greater reward, and you don't have the confidence or the emotions to sit within a trade for 3 hours. And that's totally okay, but you have to know yourself to understand, okay, just because he's doing really well, what can I take from this to then adjust to make work for myself? And that's how you have to start to look at this. Understand yourself as a trader. And I don't think you can ever call yourself a good trader until you know yourself as a trader. Once you kind of do that, and you can start to push all this stuff together, all these adjectives that we're dropping here today, I think that's going to allow you to start to understand, and that you'll be able to create that turning point.
You know, one of the best traders I ever knew, I'll just call him Steve. He was a trader in the S&Ps, and he had many people ask him to teach them what he knows and you know how he trades. And he says, you know, I really can't even put a finger on it. He says the one thing that I know is true is I came into this pit focusing on learning to make good trading decisions. I did not come into this pit thinking that I was going to make millions of dollars, which he actually ended up doing. But his focus when he went in and got into this industry was to really focus on learning to make good trading decisions according to what the market was telling him. I actually asked him the question, how did you make this much money? And he says, you know, it's the wrong question. Your question should really be, how am I going to teach myself to make good, consistent trading decisions? And you know, that just rings true to me today. Is if you're focusing on the money, it's going to be difficult for you to find anything consistent that you're going to be able to lean on to make good trading decisions.
Yeah.
So it's all about the process.
Because when you make good trading decisions, it gives you the confidence to do the things that maybe not as great traders won't do. I was thinking of, you know, a really good trader that I would know is when everyone else, say something was like working out gangbusters, we were in the same thing, is that everyone else would be covering because they're focusing on the money. And so you'd have a pretty good day. And then he would hold it and make 3 times as much as everyone else because he wasn't focused on the dollars. He was focused on, is this still a good trade to be in? And that's the sort of confidence that you can only get from, you know, trusting yourself. And you can only trust yourself through self-reflection and all the other things we've mentioned.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, are there any other last adjectives we'd like to throw down here? I know that a lot of them sort of intertwine with each other to some extent.
I'll throw one out there that kind of touches on everything. Process over profits. It goes back to everything everyone said, I think, but focus on your profits. Process, the profits will come. And
always remember, overall success comes from lots of little tiny successes along the way.
That's good.
I like those very much. I don't have a catchy line to share, but I just want to share a conversation I've been having with some people lately when I hear someone mention that they want to average X amount of money per day. And it's usually a large number. I spoke with someone today that was saying that they hope they can take $2,000 out of the market every day. I don't think it's realistic. One thing I want everybody out there to think about is how many weeks in the year are there? Realistically, how many weeks would you be trading throughout that year? And put a simple number on this. If you average $100 a day, 5 days a week, call it even 40 weeks out of the year, what does that add up to at the end of the year? It seems small, but over time, that's a lot of extra money in your pocket. If you did the same math on someone who wants to average $2,000 a day, 40 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, what does that come out to? It's a little unrealistic. You got to take what the market gives you. You can't force a P&L for the day. Usually you end up losing whatever you are trying to make because you are trading your P&L, like Jack was just talking about. So this is something everybody should think about. What if I just average $100 a day or even $50 a day? Over time, people forget about longevity and what small numbers add up to.
And I think, Mick, a good point to come out of that is you're absolutely right. It is possible to make $2,000 a day eventually, but I think that adds up to, under your parameters, $400,000 a year. And just think about other professions where you would get paid $400,000 a year and how much work and experience you would need to get to that level of salary. And that's how good you need to be to make that sort of money on average.
That's a good point. Thanks for framing out the numbers there.
Yeah. If it was like a story problem, I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good place probably to end it for now. Dan, do you have an inspiring quote to get us chomping at the bits for these volatile markets?
I do. This one comes from Winston Churchill. The price of greatness is responsibility.
Ooh, I like that. Shivers down the spine. Well, as we're talking here, I can see in the bottom corner of my screen, the equity markets are bouncing around quite a bit today. So there's definitely a lot going on out there. So make sure to stick by your process, and we hope that suits you well. Hogue, is there anything you'd like to say to sign us off here?
Sure. Get out there and profit. Trade well, everyone.
We'll see you next week, guys. Have a good one.